Hi, folks. Jim Thompson here again with Central Pro-Am Fishing in Branson, Missouri. I'm here today with Mr. Zach Robbins. He's the son of Robert Robbins, who fishes Central Pro-Am on the pro side. Zach fishes it on the co-angler side, and that's kind of what we're trying to focus on this week, Zach, is getting some perspective from the back of the boat and how you approach it. And basically, I'm just going to ask a few questions. We're going to ad-lib it and get your answers the way you know that you truly feel about it. So,
Let's do it.
on a day or two before the tournament, Zach, do you get into any mental preparation and so on, or do you are you just getting your gear ready and such things as that?
I do a little of both. It's tough not to fish well if you're not mentally ready. I kind of what we call fish mode. Fishing's on my mind. I'm out there in the garage praying out my tackle and my gear, getting it ready to go, getting the rods, getting the tackle ready. Just anticipating a good weekend of fishing. I mean, anytime you get to go fishing's great, but anytime the Lord allows you to fish tournaments, even better. So.
Yes. Now, with Robert being your father and so on, do you? That probably gives you an advantage because you do get to go out there and play.
Mm-hmm.
You get to know what he's thinking and so on, and I know he's a good mentor, no ifs, ands, or buts. Do you think that's a huge advantage, a little bit of an advantage, or what do you think?
I do think it's a little bit of an advantage, getting to go out there and see what's going on the lake, what lures are working, or just the general lay of the lake if you've never been there. I mean, a lot of lakes around here we've all fished pretty much a lot, so there's nothing real new to us, but for a lot of co-anglers that haven't fished in the back of the boat very long, a lot of this is relatively new to them. So as a guy that's already been to some and gets to go to some before the tournament, I do feel it's a little bit of an advantage. However, on the flip side, there's a lot of times what you do in practice is going to be completely different than what you do in the tournament, especially as a co-angler, because the guy you draw might be doing something entirely different, something you're not even expecting. So.
Sure. But I'm sure, like taking your car to the shop or your boat to the shop,
Mm-hmm.
you do get tuned up a little bit, where some people don't, or you stay in tune as much as you get to go.
Yep.
Once you find out who your pro partner is, Zach, and I'm sure you talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them will give you some information. Some of them won't. Most of ours will, of course.
Yep.
You pretty well dial in with what they're telling you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about Central Pro-Am's anglers in the front of the boat. They don't hold really nothing back from you as a co-angler. I mean, this is one big family here. The goal is for everyone to catch fish and have a good time, and they want the guys in the back of the boat to catch fish. And they'll tell you normally what to bring or what not to bring or just what they're going to do. I mean, you can bring whatever you want, but they're just going to tell you what they're going to do, and you can hint around, ask them questions, and they're going to tell you.
Sure. Now, from a co-angler that hasn't got a lot of experience and such, how many rods do you recommend that a co-angler brings, and where the pro feels comfortable and the co-angler feels comfortable? And then kind of describe that the kind of tackle you utilize and your containers for it and such, Zach.
Well, one of the first things I like to do is, just get an idea, ask the pro, you got a big boat, a little boat, and it's not to, disrespect him and being like, oh, this guy's got a bigger or little boat, he must not be a good fisherman. So that's entirely not the case. I just want to know the size of the boat to see how much tackle I need to bring. And, generally in rods, if it's a big boat, I'll bring 5, 6 rods. 5 rods that I'll probably use in a backup rod, because you always want a backup rod in case one busts on you or breaks in half. If it's a smaller, average-sized boat, we're going to have 4 or 5 rods. 4 rods with a 5th backup rod. My tackle bag, I consider it pretty average size. It holds about 4 or 5 tackle boxes in it, and then it has your little extra stowage compartments in there for plastics and whatnot. But, and I definitely recommend keeping all your tackle organized in, separate tackle boxes, and plastic bags for your plastics and whatnot. It just makes it easier for you, easier for your pro organization-wise.
Okay. In the morning when you all get to the dock, do you try to get there in time to help the pro back the boat down, or do you typically, does the pro want to do that?
That's something I'll discuss with him usually the night before, and if I don't bring it up, normally he will. One of us will, and as a co-angler, I feel like I should, so I go ahead and volunteer. Hey, I'll help you unload in the morning if you need help, or he might already have someone there to help him. Like in my dad's position, I usually help him unload in the morning, so his co-angler doesn't really need to. Now, I might still get there early enough to help mine.
Right, and that makes sense. That makes good sense. When you get there and you're down at the dock and you all are talking and hobnobbing and the dock talk and such, do you and your partner, your pro partner, do you all talk about the do's and the don'ts during the coming day that you think about?
We kind of do. The main thing that we talk about is just where not necessarily where to cast, but target casting. I would say, if we're specifically casting around targets, I'll ask him like, hey, when you're done with that, you mind if I have it, or stuff like that. But as a whole, Central Pro-Am, the pros, like I said, are first class, best in the Midwest, hands down, and they're all genuinely nice guys. Most of them aren't going to have any restrictions on where you can cast. I have yet, in my 3 years of Central Pro-Am, to have a guy tell me, don't cast there.
Okay.
Yet to do it.
Now, and I've talked to a lot of fishing people, Zach. You made a great point a while ago that people aren't going to think about. If that pro in the front of the boat, he's fishing a stick up down the bank, he's throwing a wiggle wart, by the time you get to that, you're still going to fish that stick up because you're fishing it from a different angle, and most people wouldn't think about that.
Yeah, you go down the bank. I actually learned that reading up on one of those Bass Pro videos that Bass Pro puts on there on Versus, and Rick Clunn talked about that target fishing being in the back of the boat. It was actually specifically a back of the boat deal, so I found it real neat. And he talked about when the pro hits that target, or dock, or stick up, or whatever, rock, whatever kind of target you're fishing, he's moved on, and generally you're going to be back behind, so you're going to have a completely different angle to cast at.
Sure.
The side that fish has never seen yet. So.
Plus, thinking about that, and then you're normally going to be throwing somewhat of a different bait. You've got just as good a chance of catching that. Sure. Okay. Exactly. Do you, as a whole, Zach, do you always try to be different than the pros bait?
Starting out in a tournament in the morning, unless I know this guy's just completely whacking them, catching them strong, I'll generally use a little bit different bait. If not a different bait, maybe a little color. And then, by midday, maybe we'll put something together where, maybe I started catching them better or he started catching them better. And, I've learned throughout the years, taking a butt whipping in the back of the boat from my dad, don't be stubborn, just switch over.
Okay. So if that pro's catching and he's got him a limit, you've got one that you're going to go ahead and be the same.
Switch over.
Sure. Or you may even do it before he gets a limit, huh?
Yeah.
When you're there in the mornings, and this is something that co-anglers really need to know, Zach, the pro that's been out there pre-fishing, he may have been there one day, he may have been there 2 days, and so on. You're going to be a benefactor of his time spent on the lake and so on. When you're talking that morning, do you bring up paying him money in the mornings? You wait during the end of the day, and how do you determine the proper amount to give the pro?
In terms of when I do it, it's usually at the end of the tournament as we're coming in. It's been a long day, and the determining factor for me, there really isn't. I kind of just, whether we make a 10-minute run or we make a 100-mile run, which ain't gonna happen, but if it were the case, lately it's been $25, but as gas goes up, I like to increase my amount I give them a little bit too. And the reason I say that is even on the short runs, you still give them a pretty good amount, is just because they've been there practicing.
Right.
They put in a lot more money than what we're actually giving them. It's just kind of a token of our appreciation. So.
Okay. So somewhere in the neighborhood of $30 to $50,
yeah, somewhere
you think
in there,
is very appropriate.
Now, obviously, you finish real high, and I've done this too. You finish real high, you might give that little extra incentive too.
Well, and that makes sense. That's a good tip. If you win $800 or $900 behind your pro,
slip him some extra.
It probably wouldn't hurt to give him another 50 or so.
Yes, sir.
And that's a great point. From the co-angler perspective, give me one or two or three good items, Zach, that you feel will help a co-angler that's coming in the Central Pro-Am. Give us 2 or 3 good hints that they won't get anywhere else.
You need a mentality of going into a Central Pro-Am as an amateur is, hey, I'm here to learn, I'm here to have fun, and if I don't catch a fish today, I'm going to pick this guy's brain apart and learn everything I can about this lake or this technique we're fishing. And, buddy up with these guys here in Central Pro-Am, Give them your number. I swear they'll call you, take you fishing somewhere. They're going to want, like I said, this is one big family, and everyone's trying to help everybody. And as a co-angler, like I said, doing that, and then mentally just preparing, knowing what you're going to do and having your rods and everything organized, just being ready to go fishing.
Okay. Now, I know the last event, buddy, you fished with Greg Ryan.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you won that event?
Yeah, I got lucky.
Well, now, do you mind sharing? That was in December.
Yep.
And you know, Greg Ryan's a great fisherman.
One of the best.
Great Central Pro-Am promoter.
Yes, sir.
How did you all catch your fish that day?
Oh, we went up lake and we started out spinner baiting, and we each caught some. Greg had a few keepers. I had some shorts, and you know, the sun got out pretty bright though. I mean, it was still pretty windy. The sun got out bright, and we decided to go over to a wiggle wart, and we pretty much fished that wiggle wart throughout most of the day, and you know, just kind of went through some fish. Greg caught them. I caught some. You know, and my biggest fish I caught was actually on a spinnerbait, war eagle spinnerbait, and I think it was big bass, if I remember right. I think it was.
I believe so. Yeah.
We were actually parallel on the bank, and just an example of what I was telling you earlier about Central Pro-Am and the class of the anglers in the front of the boat. Greg was parallel on the bank. He said, "You throw right up here next to me." He goes, "You know, you got just as much right to fish as I do." He said he didn't care where I threw it.
Well, and that's a great statement for him to make. So yeah. I know you're getting ready to go to work at Bass Pro Shop today, so let's take a few minutes. I want you to thank all your sponsors, Greg, or Zach. We got to talking about Greg.
Yeah.
Thank all the sponsors you want to thank, and then let's talk about the loose reels here before we're done.
I want to thank Bass Pro Shops, Nitro Boats, Mercury Motors, Motor Guide Trolling Motors, War Eagle, Chompers, and then the Lose Rod and Reels. If you don't know about them, you're going to. They are back and they're moving up to the top of the top, and they're second to none.
I agree. I've fishing 30 years, and I used to throw the BB ones and the black ones, and there's nothing like picking one of these guys up. There's a light you don't even know you got them in
they're
your
light
hand.
and they fit in the palm of your hand, and they're still just as strong as can be. And the rods, I mean, a lot of people are bragging on the reels, and for good reason, but the rods are just as good too. You know, the old loose speed stick. I mean,
it's phenomenal.
Yep.
Phenomenal.
Exactly.
Okay. And Jim, I'd like to thank Ranger Boats and Mercury Motors and for helping Central Pro-Am. We've also got a list of sponsors that y'all can look at on our website, www.centralpro-am, and look at all of them because we got some great sponsors. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
Have a great day, brother.
You too.